Hello friends! If you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Christina. This is my third year using a bullet journal and never mind. It's my second. This is my third year using a bullet journal. So yes, I got that right the first time. But it honestly feels like yesterday when I decided to switch from a traditional 12-month planner to a bullet journal. So as I start setting up my paint, this year's setup is quite different from what I usually do. I typically opt for a minimal design, but I want it to be colorful and vibrant this year. So I'm using watercolor to paint a purple sky and white clouds. I've already measured how big my pieces are and lined them with washi tape to get a pretty clean edge. I honestly can't remember where I purchased this watercolor set. I bought this so long ago. I'm pretty sure I bought this back in college for a costume design class, but it's probably from a craft store like Michael's, Joann's, or Hobby Lobby. They're super easy to find, and I'll leave a link down below in case any of you want to purchase one. I initially planned to use watercolor paper for this setup, but then realized, wait, this paper is pretty thick, making my bullet journal rather bulky. It's way too soon for that. So I tore a couple of pages from my Archer Olive notepad and used that instead. The paper is 160 GSM, so I can't add too many layers of watercolor. It can get soggy or tear the paper if you add too much, so I'm gently painting 1 to 2 layers of watercolor. I'm going for this ombre look. It starts with the light purple at the very top and then fades to a darker purple. For the clouds, I'm not using any white paint or anything. I'm just dipping my brush in my water cup and then painting the clouds. There's just a little hint of purple in my water cup from when I'm, just rinsing out my brush. But I feel like doing this instead of using white paint, it just helps a little with softening out the edges. While that's drying, I mentioned this in my holiday gift guide, but I am using the Amanda Rachel bullet journal in the color lilac for 2022. I picked this one because, I don't know, it's just something about this shade of purple. It's just a perfect pastel, which is why I gravitated towards this one. But what really got me is the matching edges. The edges of the pages are purple, just like the cover, so it's overall an adorable design. For the first page of this bullet journal, I used a stencil to write 2022 vertically and then used an acrylograph to fill it in. Now, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but I feel like Archer and Olive's acrylographs, the color on the outside of the marker doesn't necessarily match the ink, the color of the ink that comes out of the pen. So I initially casted this one out and was like, okay, I'm not using this because it looks pink. But when I tested it out on paper, it matched the purple watercolor I was using for the sky. So I'm just really happy I found a marker that matched. The clouds have dried, so I'm trimming off the white part with my paper cutter. I love using this paper cutter for something like this because it's convenient. It's so much easier when you're cutting this much paper, and it's consistent. The next page in my bullet journal is my grid page, and since this is a bullet journal brand I've never used before, I included this page. I've considered omitting this page, but not every A5 bullet journal has the exact measurements, so the number of boxes changes depending on the brand. For this one, it's going to be 28 boxes horizontally and 40 boxes vertically. The only two measurements I need to reference are the middle / the halfway mark and dividing the page into thirds. I usually have 6 columns for my weekly setups, so having this measurement to reference is very beneficial because I forget every single time I'm setting my weekly setup. As you can see, I used a darker purple for text because I didn't want to use the lighter purple I used earlier. I felt like it would match too much. I wanted something that would contrast all of that lightness. I didn't mention this earlier, but obviously I picked purple because I wanted it to match the color and overall vibe of the cover. I wanted something fun, and I do this every year with my setups. I use the bullet journal cover as inspiration for the setup, which reminds me this year's Plan With Me designs are super colorful and vibrant. It's not anything I've ever done before, but I'm excited about it. I'm feeling inspired again. And towards the end of 2021, I think I was going through a creative block. I had a challenging time coming up with bullet journal spreads for my bullet journal. My sister's, it was easy because she would give me an idea and then I would go off that, but I didn't know what to do when it came down to mine. I didn't know what I wanted. Whereas 2022, I don't know if it's because we're approaching a new year, so there's this sense of I can start over, or the fact that I'm using a new bullet journal. I don't know, but I'm feeling inspired. I love it. I already have 6 months worth of ideas for my 2022 bullet journal, so I can't wait to share that with you all. Since I set up my bullet journal month to month, I definitely need a future log. This is so helpful because I can block out dates and events, but I notice the most functional yet decorative setup for my future log is creating a Dutch door. That means I'm cutting the top part of the page so that I'm flipping back and forth between the different months and I'm still able to see the same header. That means I don't have to recreate the header on a second page. I have a page dedicated to my first quarterly goals, a brain dump, my perfect day, and a book tracker. I'm a little sad that I didn't stick to my goal of reading 30 books this year, but you know what? This year was such a pivotal moment in my life. We bought a home and moved from California to Nevada, and surprisingly, that change took me quite some time to get back into my routine. So if anything, I'm still trying to establish a routine. I'm trying to figure out what works for me, what doesn't. I'm trying things out. I think that's just going to be one of my main goals for this year, is establishing a more permanent routine that makes me feel good. that is pretty much it for my setup. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell because I'll be posting my January plan with me on Thursday. And then the very first week of January, I'm going to be posting my sister's 2022 bullet journal setup and her January plan with me. So there's a lot of fun videos ahead. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!